What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Passive Tree Podcast. Podcast dedicated, talk about life, Path of Exile 2, and everything in between. Tonight on episode 33, I'm joined by a fellow content creator and streamer. It's none other than Halcy, or otherwise known as Halcy. Welcome on, and how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited that you are the person who's going to tell everyone how my name is pronounced. I get that question a lot, and I ended up putting it in my Twitch about section because everyone asks me, how do you pronounce it? But you nailed it. 10 out of 10.
Oh my God. That's such a relief. I actually referred to the Twitch bio actually to make sure that I got it right. So I'm happy that I nailed it. We're off to a good start then.
Sweet.
So just generally speaking, I wanted to ask you, as we just kind of came out of the holiday season, New Year's and all that, just how was your holiday season?
It was great. I would say it was chill, but I streamed a bunch and was learning about content creation. So it was busy. And as you know, streaming and content it can be more than a full-time job. It can be as much of a job as you'd like. So it was really great. And I also have some goals for 2026. So I'm excited. It's going to be an awesome year. I'm pumped.
I love that. No, I totally agree. I love the entrepreneurial side of content creation and streaming and all that. I am an entrepreneur myself. And so I think that aspect of everything really resonates with me, especially you get what you put in, and you have to put in a lot. As you said, it's more than a full-time job. It's a normal person, I don't know, normal person sounds bad, but a person who has a regular 9 to 5, they're working 40 hours a week, usually something like that. But it can easily be way more than that, especially because there is a lot to learn. What were you sort of teaching yourself or learning over the holidays?
Oh, there's so many things. A lot of it was focused because I have had a YouTube channel for a while. I've kind of gotten used to my flow on YouTube. A lot of what I've been learning recently is about streaming, setting up different things on OBS and channel point rewards and streamer emotes or subscriber emotes rather. And, it's just you could fiddle with it for ages.
I spent so long doing that. And I'll tell you right now, I'm still every single day before stream or after stream, oh, I could add this emote or I could add this sound effect or stuff like that. So it's a never ending process. I wanted to ask you as a follow-up to this, just what are you using in terms of your streamer setup? I asked this because I actually recently reset all my stuff through a software called Mix It Up. I don't know if you've heard of it before. But before this Mix It Up software, I was basically using 3 or 4 different separate tools. It was Streamlabs for some things, Stream Elements for other things, and then a soundboard thing for sound effects. And then the homie Dead Rabbit, shout out to the homie, actually was yo, you can use everything within this one software, Mix It Up, and it makes your, you can use it for channel point redemption, a bot for your channel. So yeah, what are you using?
Wow, I just set up streamer.bot, and that is kind of, I think, what I'm going to migrate everything over, because you, I have a mix of Nightbot and Stream Elements. I think when I first, because I took a break from content when I started streaming again and started streaming Path of Exile, I had my bots fighting in the channel. One of them would spam a bunch of emotes being Halcy is live, and the next one would be you're banned for too many emotes. It was quite an experience.
Okay, I'm going to send you the website for Mix It Up. I know you just said you spent a bunch of time during the holidays sort of setting things up. It is a bit of a process to get it going, but it feels so good to just have everything cohesively in one software. So I'm a super big fan of it. Over the holidays, did you have any time to relax, maybe play some games off stream, enjoy yourself with free time?
Yeah, you might think that I would play other games. No, I played Path of Exile. I played Path of Exile more than people spend on their full-time job. If you were wondering, do I do this for the content? No, because I spent way more time playing the game than I did on the content. I looked at my hours. It was Steam, how much you've played in the last 2 weeks, and I was is this a problem? Is this something I should be saying I deserve clout over, or something that I should be you need to go touch grass? I couldn't figure out which, but yeah, I played a lot of Path of Exile 2 specifically.
That's funny that you say that. It's like almost like to the normal person, or I keep using that word again. Oh my God, I got to stop saying that. To somebody who is not a gamer, and you say like, yeah, I played 200 hours on my character this league so far. They're like, oh my God, like are you good? Like, do you need help? And then if you speak to folks within our community, they're like, oh shit, you're like loving the league. Like, that's awesome. How's your character feeling? So I think it depends on who you say it to. Absolutely.
Yeah, when I told my chat, they were like, "Oh, rookie numbers, you got to pump that up. Are you crazy?" I'm like,
yeah. So you've been enjoying it off stream. I also played quite a bit off stream during the holidays as well. It's kind of nice to just like not be, watched, especially playing hardcore myself. It's like, I feel like very, like there's a little bit of less stress playing off stream, which is nice. Generally speaking, how have you been enjoying 0.4 so far?
I like it. I don't like the temple. I haven't played it. I did try it, but I haven't done the strategy that all the other content creators have been talking about. I've mostly just been trying to learn other things in the game because I didn't play Endgame and Path of Exile 2 much at all before this league. But I was like, now that I'm streaming it and stuff, I was like, okay, I got to Endgame like so fast that now I have to figure out what's next. And so I was trying to learn like expedition farming and ritual farming and abyss farming. And I've had like, I would say minor success with it. It's been fun. I've just been doing something that's like a little bit more low key, no like intense farming strategies.
Got it. I've had this weird sort of dynamic with the temple as well this league, where initially I loved it in the campaign, didn't love how the rewards didn't sort of scale. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that it wasn't like solved and no one was doing like the snake strategies at the time. And then as sort of that whole thing came to light, I started to really enjoy this aspect of like building it out and stuff like that. And then as you know, we had all these like back and forth changes and stuff like that. And that like really took the wind out of my sails. And I think that kind of happened with a lot of people with the temple, where it was like I was spending a lot of time in there, and then all of a sudden it was a bit harder to actually make what I wanted, and so I had just started ignoring it completely. And so yeah, was that sort of a similar experience to you, or why did you not enjoy it so much?
Yeah, I think I just didn't really understand how to make money in the temple. Like, it wasn't intuitive to me. And so eventually I was like, whatever, these other farming strategies seem to be more reliable. Like, I've talked about this with Delve. Like, I'd say that like there's like two kinds of players. There's the one who is farming for like the slow but steady money, and there's the one who's like, every 5 maps I'm gonna get the biggest tink in my life and it's gonna feel so good. And I definitely am in the camp of liking the slow and steady money. And so for me, like, farming ritual or abyss makes a little bit more sense with that preference, because especially with ritual, like, you're constantly re-rolling, and so you're kind of constantly seeing a little bit of some specific omens come up that you can sell for a little bit of money at a time.
I got it. It almost feels like when you're doing content in maps, it's almost like the rewards feel a bit more immediate, whereas the temple obviously requires quite a bit more like investment and time to see like the return on your investment for time. And that's kind of why I haven't really been enjoying it as well. I don't love content that pulls me out of maps. I don't really have that much experience in PoE1. To be fully transparent, I've only probably played the game for like maybe like 100 hours or something. But I do love just like blasting maps, doing content in there. And I think Abyss was like the perfect medium for me, because the rewards were immediate enough while still pulling me out of the map with like going into the abyssal depths and stuff. So I can definitely see why it appeals to some folks and not to others as well. Yeah,
100%. I was reorienting my windows and I got lost.
No, you're all good. You're all good.
I actually typically like mechanics that take you out of the game. Like, I do like heist a lot, and I do like delve a lot. It's just something I was kind of surprised, because I thought that this was going to be a mechanic I was going to be super into for that reason. But then once I got into it, I think it was the planning. I'm definitely like an Alcan Go player. And once I realized how much planning was involved, I was like, I'm out. Sorry.
For sure. I was on the way to 100, and I unfortunately died yesterday, but I was very stubborn in not like building out the temple, while a lot of my friends and peers were saying that like, oh, Blaze, like if you want to push 100, like you should be in the temple. You can get way more XP per hour in there. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this the old fashioned way. And then I died. And now I have the opportunity essentially to redo this. And I think as a interesting like contrast and compare, I'm going to actually be doing a lot of XP like farming and juicing through the temple to see how it compares. And I think I already know the answer to it. But so I'm excited to give it another chance. And I hope that maybe as the leagues progress, as we get into 0.5, 0.6, hopefully they like tailor the league or the league mechanic, the temple, to make it feel like it's not like the one all and be all for like XP and like raw currency and stuff. Because right now it kind of feels like there's a little bit of FOMO. I don't know if you kind of felt the same way a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I'm so sorry you died. That's there's always something new to explore. I think, didn't they nerf the XP in the temple or no?
I think there have been just like general like diminishing returns overall, like depending on like rarity and stuff like that, and XP as well. But it's still crazy in there. Like some of the people in the guild are getting like 500% XP on top of like other factors like the increased density and stuff. So it's just like, whoa, like when you take the time, it's like it's really good.
Okay.
Did you end up getting to check out like the Druid or the Talisman or like any of the new content on that side of things as well?
Yeah, I started with the bear and I actually had like a super great leveling experience. And then like I reworked it in the end game, and the bear is super fun. It's just I don't know if clunky is the right word. The bear, like, it made me realize how much more difficult melee is in this game, because I typically like melee characters, or I like to call them Fele because it's fake melee, because there's like a melee in this game where it's just like a little bit arranged. And so that's kind of what I typically like to play. But then I started with the Plant Oracle after Rax was like, this is how I saved my league. And I was like, you know what, save my league too. Why not? And I realized that range is actually very fun and probably a lot easier than melee in this game. But I did like the bear a lot. Now I'm like, unfortunately, I'm in the ranged camp. I've been converted.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been playing melee since 0.1. Like my first character ever in Path of Exile, like either game, was a warrior in patch 0.1. In the most like rough state of the game, like the trials of the Sekimas were like a form of torture for melee players. I think they still are to some extent. And I did enjoy like the feeling of the warrior. I know what you mean. It's a little bit clunky, and I think that kind of translates into the bear as well. But like it has this sort of like power to it, like if you drop like a hammer of the gods on something, or like you just hit like the perfect strike timing window, like that stuff feels really good. I think for me personally, the warrior suffers from two things. It's the speed aspect with the like speed reduction based on like the armor that you're using. I know that's sort of like you can spec out of that now, but it still requires investment. And I think another thing that we talk about all the time on my channel is just the life scaling is really bad compared to like other defensive layers. So I think those two things combined with, I guess, the clunkiness a little bit makes the warrior just feel like or melee in general feel a little bad.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And then I go into Trial of Sekimas doing an ES character for the first time, and I'm like, this is how it's supposed to be? This is the amount of honor I'm supposed to have? It's kind of insane.
It is wild. I never realized that you could get like 30k honor on like a energy shield evasion character. That I'm in there with like 3k on the warrior, just like, let's do this, Zargoth, let's do this. Okay, so you went with the bear, you're with the Oracle now. How are you feeling about like getting into some like early preliminary gaming questions? I wanted to learn a little bit of Halcy lore, Halcy history, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, sweet. So just starting off with, when did you start gaming and what were you playing on when you started?
I have two older brothers. I kind of realized, like, as I was listening to some of the other podcasts, that I think a lot of streamers just have an older brother gaming experience. I am not an exception to that. I also have older brothers who played games, and I was like, I want to play games like them. And so I was doing like all the classics. You know, we were on Super Mario. We were on like Zelda Ocarina of Time. I have a little Deku tree behind me. Deku tree.
Oh yeah.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I think I heard you mention that once before. That's a classic. Yeah, all of those like Super Nintendo games, Nintendo 64. Oh yeah, I was on it.
I love that. Yeah, that's very much reminiscent to my childhood as well. And so you said you have older brothers, plural, which makes me think about my younger sister. So I come from like a family of 3 kids. I'm the oldest, so I was always the one being like, let's play this game or let's bring this game home from Blockbuster and check this out. And then my siblings would obviously try that out. So I was kind of like responsible a little bit for the games that my siblings got into. Do you still like play video games with your siblings at all?
No, I'm the youngest sister. They didn't want to play with me. Like, I wanted to play with them, but they didn't want, like, fun fact, you can't tell, but I have a scar here because I was trying to watch my brother play a game and he was like, no. And he like got mad at me and like pushed me out of the way. We were just kids. So he didn't know. He just pushed me out of the way and I like fell against a table and I had to get stitches and like, it's just like sibling stuff. So.
Oh no! I can.
I had to find my own path, but we don't play too much together anymore. I think I have a video on my YouTube channel of us playing Phasmophobia once together, though. So they're very, very rarely, but sometimes.
I got you. So you said N64, like Super Nintendo, sort of the early start, console start. When did you make the like jump into PC gaming?
Oh, very early on. When I was 16 and I was like, I can get my first job. I was like, I don't care what the job is. I know what I want. I want a gaming PC. I even like went to the first ever job interview I had, that they were like, why do you want this job? And I was like, oh, I want a gaming PC. And they were like, okay, we don't care. Just like wash our dishes and we'll move on. So like I knew, because like early on, I was super into like, I don't know, it's hard to remember what all the cool video games were at that day and age. I played a lot of StarCraft, so that was a big one. But yeah, PC was like, my family was definitely part of like PC gaming supremacy. And so very early on, they were like, PC for the win.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of how my family went. We did have consoles as well, but like after I ended up getting on the gaming PC, I guess it wasn't really a gaming PC at the time. It was just a computer that played video games on it. But yeah, it was like, it always just felt like those games just got me a little bit more and I ended up spending a lot more time on them. StarCraft, oh my God, like that is one of like the transformative games of my childhood. Like I spent so much time. It was actually the first game I ever played on the internet as well when I was super young.
Really?
Yeah, like playing custom games. I played ladder. I was in like a clan. I was like 10 years old. I was in a clan with a bunch of like grown men playing StarCraft. It was kind of crazy. Any other games that you can recall from like your early gaming history that like left a lasting impression on you as a gamer?
I don't know. There were so many random games when we were growing up. It's hard to remember them all. Like, Spore. I loved Spore, where you like made your own little creature and then you went through each age as a little creature into the space age. And I just basically would play whatever was kind of like new and trendy and whatever my friends were playing.
Got it. I played Spore too. That was made by the same dude who made The Sims. And I would say that The Sims for me was another game that like was monumental for me as a kid. I don't know what it was about it. Like it was, I wasn't even really old enough to understand like that it was just like a life simulation. You kind of just do whatever you want. But the gameplay was just so much fun. And I just like, it just holds such a special place in my heart. So yeah, it's curious that you don't have any sort of games that really stand out to you as being like, damn, like this is like my top 10 or like my top 5 sort of thing.
I mean, StarCraft is definitely in that camp. Like I played so much I could have gotten to master in StarCraft. Like I was like tier 1 diamond or whatever it is, like rank 1 diamond. And that was the game that I was like, okay, I can actually be good at games, because prior to that it was kind of like, I don't know, you play like a couple of games of League of Legends and you're like, I don't think gaming is for me.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. So I'm guessing you're talking about StarCraft 2 for hitting Diamond. Which race did you play?
Oh, Zerg.
Zerg? Okay. So the most macro intensive race as well. Yeah. I actually still like...
My APM was very high. I could click many times per minute.
You have to be able to do that if you're playing Zerg. I don't know. I've never been like the biggest like sports person, which is bad. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a bad Canadian. I don't like hockey, and I barely like enjoy any of the other sports. But esports has always been something that I've been really interested in, especially since like I got into like StarCraft 2 back in the day, and I actually still like keep up with like just watching like the pro scene. Do you ever like watch that stuff just for fun sometimes?
Not recently. I mean, I still kind of keep up on some of the casters. Like, do you know who Day 9 is?
That name sounds familiar. Yes.
Yeah, he's did a bunch of casting for StarCraft 2. Like some of those casters I kind of kept up on, but not really any of the like professional players.
Okay, got you. It's actually like I'm drawing a blank because I used to be like super into this, and I used to follow all of the casters. There was two guys. I think both of them lived in Korea after a certain role. I guess all paths in StarCraft lead to Korea at some point if you're actually really into it. But yeah, I haven't like caught up with any of them. Okay, so StarCraft is like kind of like your main like game that really left a lasting impression on you. So I did some like deep diving on your content on your channel, and I saw that the oldest videos that you have are about 2 years old. So I just wanted to see like, what really inspired you to sort of start putting yourself on the internet and making like content around video games?
Yeah, I've always watched a lot of streamers. I was watching some streamers play horror games. Insim is a big streamer who plays Phasmophobia, and that like watching him, I was like, it just looks like he's having maximum fun. Like the people who are streaming just look like they're having so much fun all the time. And I was like, I like fun. I would like to have fun all the time like them. Let me do that. And so I basically decided, like I looked into it a little bit, and you can start streaming on Twitch, but no one will find you because you'll be at the very bottom of the page. So I was like, okay, well, I'll start by just making YouTube videos, and then at the very least, like I can edit out all the bad parts and all my failures, and then no one has to see that. And so basically I just started making Phasmophobia videos, and then realized like, oh, I kind of want to try other games. And then I tried other games, and then my friends got me into Path of Exile, and then I stopped making content because all I did was play Path of Exile instead.
That's kind of what happens with Path of Exile, isn't it? Okay, so yeah, as I kind of noted that it was like a bunch of Let's Plays on your channel for quite a while. But then all of a sudden, it was just like you did a video on Path of Exile, and then it was just like a lot of Path of Exile content afterwards. So what about Path of Exile? And this might be a hard question, but I know you got this. What about Path of Exile really like stuck with you and kind of made it so that this is like the only game that you really want to play right now?
A lot of it is like, I have a group of college friends who it's like my Discord people that I talk to at night. You have like a group of people that, when at the end of a hard day's work, you talk to them and you play games. And those people for me are super into Path of Exile. And I was like, okay, great. Whatever game you're playing, I will play too. And they play it not only nonstop, but they also talk about it nonstop. Even when they're playing other games, they're still talking about Path of Exile. And so now it feels like it is just like part of my life. It's like there isn't a day where there's not some kind of discussion about this game. And so it just kind of slowly like took over each day, each aspect in my brain.
And it's kind of designed that way too. Like it's the genius of GGG to some extent. Like the game has such a deep like wealth of knowledge to learn and understand, and it feels like you can never get on top of it. You're only kind of just like scratching the surface. At least for me, anyway. I feel like there's always something more to learn or something to get better at, and then that combined with like the cadence of updates and content, and like then the drama of about that cadence of updates and content. It's just like a never-ending story. So I definitely know what you mean. It's like once you're in it, you're in it. I think we're in it now.
Yeah, it is. And it's exciting to like do something that you couldn't do last league, when you get like faster at getting to a boss or at like reaching a certain like build milestone. It does like, it doesn't only feel good like in the game, but it feels good like as a person, you feel like you've grown. So I definitely get that like addiction of like, I'm getting better every day.
Absolutely. So you mentioned like the community aspect of it, not only with like your IRL friends or your like gaming friends, but also now you have this like separate community of like people through your streaming and content creation. And I can relate to that so much. It's actually such a great community on the internet, just in general. Like I played a lot of games, as you have as well, and so I've been part of quite a bit of different communities. I played a lot of Rust and like Counter-Strike, a lot of competitive games, Dota 2 and stuff like that. And there was always this like underlying like sense of like toxicity within those communities. And I think that just is like in nature, partially due to it being competitive. Why do you think like the Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile community has such as like a secret sauce that makes it so awesome?
Yeah, I think about this a lot because I do think that Path of Exile has some of the best community that I've seen. And I really do think it's because we're forced into this culture of constantly learning that, like, yeah, there's some annoying people, but for the most part, like everyone recognizes that you only have like some certain subset of knowledge and everyone else is going to have a different subset. And you just like, you find where they overlap and where they don't, and you kind of work together to like fully fill out what you know. And I really do think it comes down to like, one, the game being super hard, and two, there being a lot to learn. So I also have been super impressed by the Path of Exile community, more so than any other like gaming community that I've seen, for sure.
It's very special. I hold it very dearly to me. I feel super grateful to be like a part of it. And yeah, no, I love it. I think for me, I had a conversation with this about another friend of mine who was on the podcast, Timmy, and he said that all of the games that I was playing before that he also played as well were about like taking something from somebody, whether it was like their ranking in StarCraft or their gear in Rust or Tarkov. And I think you put it perfectly, where in Path of Exile, it's very much like we're just giving each other stuff. We're giving each other information. We're giving each other items. We're giving each other, like, it's a culture of like providing information and giving and helping, which I think intrinsically makes it just feel more like positive and awesome.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm glad I made that point because I didn't think about it consciously. But I've always been drawn to PvE games where you're not, like, it's not really competitive, just because I am like a socially anxious person. And so like the second I get put into a team game, which is why I like StarCraft, it was 1v1. The second I get put into a team game, I'm like, I'm going to let people down. Like, I'm terrified. So that's what I liked about Path of Exile 2 is that Path of Exile also, not Path of Exile 2, but Path of Exile 2 is the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that you are like, yeah, you're not putting anyone down to get where you are, and you can all achieve the same goals. It's not like when you achieve your goal, you're taking away from someone else, unless your goal is like rank 1, like ladder or something like that. Otherwise, yeah, we're all providing for each other.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with that. I think that's why ever since I played and started playing Path of Exile, like December 6th last year, I basically moved away from team games, which were like the majority of the type of games that I played. Because I really enjoy like you are responsible for your success or you are responsible for your own failures. When I played StarCraft, I only did like 1v1 ladders as well. I never loved doing like team games because as much as we all want to think we're perfect, we're not. And it's so much easier to blame your teammate or blame somebody else for your follies. Like, whereas in Path of Exile, I make a mistake, I fucked up, skill issue, like we go again. And that's kind of like the attitude that I like to have with it. And I'm forced to because I'm playing by myself for the most part. So it's good. Yeah.
That's so funny because I'm the opposite. I'm like, when our team messes up, I'm like, it's actually all my fault and I'm terrible and I can't let this happen again. I just completely spiral.
Oh no.
So I like Path of Exile because like, if I fail, like, yeah, I knew I failed. I knew it was my fault all along. It's just like now I don't have to include other people in what happened here. It's just me. That's
really funny. I hope you realize over time that it's not always your fault. That'll be a good realization to have. So one thing that was really cool that I saw of yours that actually sort of like put me onto your content specifically was the Path of Exile 2 has a UX problem. Really, really great video, by the way. This was the one where I was like, I am subbing to you immediately. I can't wait for a future content. For those people who haven't seen that video, I would love to ask you just to maybe like give us sort of your takes about the UX problems that were existing in Path of Exile 2 and how you experienced them as well.
Yeah, so as a background, like a lot of people know this, a lot of people, I don't know, form opinions based off this, but I'm also like a software developer in real life. I know you're into art, so you probably see this a little bit as well, that like you pull out different things from the game because of your like real life experience. And so for me, like who lives and breathes like where buttons belong on a page, unfortunately, like that is it's very easy to see that in Path of Exile. And I think like the first game, there's been so many egregious things with this. I didn't mention Necropolis in that video, I don't think. But you know, Necropolis was probably like the UX wise, it was really bad. There were like so many corpses that you had to manage and inventory space, and then you had to like pick certain mods and certain bases, and like, oh, it was just a whole thing. And so I've kind of like seen that throughout time. And I know that Path of Exile 2 is supposed to reach people who are not used to that friction that you get in the first game. And so for me, seeing them willing to introduce that same friction that they've put in the first game in the game that's not supposed to have it, I was just disappointed. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, okay, like I know this has been like an ongoing problem in the first game, but that's okay because everyone in the first game is already so invested. We've already put so much hours, and we know that like part of the game is literally like figuring out their UI. But in the second game, it wasn't really supposed to be that way. So it was frustrating for me to see some of the same, like the lack of clarity in the game that is supposed to solve that.
Got it. And I think the video primarily focused on the UX experience or the UX and UI of the temple mechanics specifically that kind of like sparked the inspiration. Like, oh no, we're seeing this trend happening again in Path of Exile 2 that I've been dealing with in Path of Exile 1 for so long. For those who haven't seen the video, what were some like suggestions that you were making to help like improve the temple's UX and UI, that situation?
I mean, a lot of it is about telling you like what is going to happen. I know a big one that I still think about is if there's like some middle state where when you are done running the temple, it shows you like which rooms will be deleted, because there is like the game should have some randomness, but it shouldn't feel like the punishment is random. And that's kind of what was happening in the temple. And there were also some patterns like the medallions where like now I get it after, you know, the game like punished me for it. But like when you first see the medallions, they look very similar to the room cards. They're just on the other side of the screen. And so having them behave differently, even though they look the same as something else, was a bit jarring. So there were a couple things like that. It was mostly around clarity and like understanding what happens when you like do some action in the game.
Got it. It's a tough sort of situation that we find ourselves in, because GGG has, you know, as you've exhibited sort of in your experiences through Path of Exile, which is a lot more than I have currently at this time. You've kind of seen this be an issue for a long time. And one of the solutions to these problems is content creators making content around how to do things properly, how to understand systems and mechanics. And it almost feels like they've fallen into this sort of like, maybe we don't have to go in depth about explanation, because given time, people will eventually figure this out, and then it will be solved via either a third-party software or a video series or guides and stuff like that. Do you think like it's in their best interest to like make more stuff that explains things to people? Like maybe like a video on their YouTube being like, hey, this is how X, Y, and Z works and whatnot.
I think they need to experiment with it, and whatever works is what they should do. Like, for example, if you go to the temple, there's like a little eye at the top, and if you mouse over it, it gives you like a full novel about how the temple works. And it doesn't explain everything, but it does explain some things. And I don't think that's an effective way to communicate how you're supposed to interact with the game. I think that most people, especially after going through a campaign where there's just like a ton of dialogue that you end up not caring about, people just like don't look at text like that. And so they really should just try. They could try putting a novel on a little hover icon. That's fine, but they need to try other things as well to create a sense of clarity for sure.
Thank you for telling me about that eye. I didn't know that existed. I'm going to actually click on that when I go into the game and actually learn how to do the temple now. It also could be cool as sort of like a collaboration effort. I know GGG, like, of course, is very in touch with their community. It could even potentially be something like, yo, Halcy, I'm pretending I'm GGG right now. Pretend I'm Jonathan Rogers. Halcy, we need some sort of like help with like explaining our content. Could you help us make like a GGG crafted video that would help explain certain things to the players? And I think that could be like a good middle ground where they're not like investing too many resources in it, leaving it to the player base, but then maybe helping by being like, we want to cover X, Y, and Z, and then you can kind of take your own spin on it and whatnot. That kind of would be like a cool like middle ground, I think.
Yeah, and they kind of did that with Ziggy D and the initial Druid gameplay. Like, he put out footage of himself playing, and it actually answered a ton of questions that we had, even about like whether the bear can dodge roll. You know what I mean? And I actually really like that. So they did like do a little bit of that. I don't know if it was like GG sanctioned or what, but that would be cool.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely was. We spoke on a previous episode a few days ago, and he was sort of telling them that like during the showcase, he told them, oh, I don't think players are going to be super impressed with like the way that you're exhibiting like the Druid skills, how it like all these things interact and stuff like that. Basically, he's saying these look like they're ZDPS and people aren't going to be super excited about it. And so I think like as sort of a way to help them, he's like, let me play the Druid, do it as like a player through my own experience, and then help me showcase like how badass this class is and how badass the talisman is and stuff like that. And I think you're absolutely right. It was really enjoyable and it was great to see as well.
Yeah, I think everyone had a reaction video to that, including me, if you want to check it out.
It was very good React content. I love the hype period. I'm so new to Path of Exile, relatively speaking, and so I'm just like finding myself getting more and more excited every league when there's something new happening. And like there's a certain magic in the air when it comes to like pre-league videos and hype and stuff like that. It's just like it's so fun. I love it.
Yeah, I was watching one of your earlier episodes, like just before the league was revealed or right after, and everyone was so excited. They're like, the temple is going to be the best thing ever. And I was like, oh, uh-oh, they don't know yet.
It's funny to go back and watch some of those episodes. And I think it's cool now that I can have like an archive of like what my actual thoughts were previously before like content actually came out and talk about it. I think I spoke about it with Dreamcore, who was like such a pleasure to talk to about everything as well. So I have a question here that I love to ask people on the podcast, especially being a person who has sort of their own like full-time job. How do you find balance right now between your gaming, content creation, and all other aspects of your life as well?
Oh, I do not know. I don't know. I have set a commitment that I have to, because I try to get some exercise in. I try to touch grass at least multiple times a week. So for every stream I do, I also have to do a workout, and that actually keeps my brain like inside my head because it is a lot to keep track of. So I just try to have fun with it. I try to make sure that I put out at least one video a week so you all don't forget I exist. I'm still here. Yeah. And otherwise, I just do the best I can day by day.
It sounds like you have a pretty good handle of it. I mean, that's more than some people do, for sure. I'm thinking about, some people being myself, actually. Definitely use more physical exercise sometimes. But yeah, it's like the balancing act is, I find, such a fascinating question because we're all sort of at our own like stage of figuring it out. And I wanted to ask you specifically because it's tough having a full-time job and then also being like super passionate about this like content creation and streaming thing. I find when I'm at work doing my work, I'm often thinking like, oh, what's my next video going to be? Or like, when am I going to stream next and stuff like that? And like, so I'm like drifting slowly into the dark side more and more and more. And I wondered if you were sort of falling into that same pattern, perhaps.
Oh, especially after the break. Like, I had a couple weeks off for the holidays, as a lot of people did. And that time where I got to like only think about content, then like going back to work, I'm like, oh, I gotta reset my brain. And yeah, I definitely feel that pressure. But I do my best. I try to keep it unlocked. Get all the things I need to get done for work. Get all the things I need to get done for YouTube and Twitch. You know, it is what it is.
One step at a time. One step at a time. So as a follow-up question, hypothetically speaking, let's say things start popping off. Your stream is popping off. YouTube's blowing up. Everything. Would you ever consider a like transition into like full-time content creation and or streaming?
I would. It would be hard to turn that down because Path of Exile and like the gaming community and like the Twitch community, like everyone is just so incredible. It would be very hard to turn that down. I will say like right now, I really love my job. So it would probably take a while for me to like pull away from that. But I think like there's a lot of things I value in content creation. One of them being like financial independence. So if the stars align, then I'll be there, with a telescope, like, yay. But otherwise, we'll see.
Nice. Yeah. I like how you mentioned that you love your job. I feel like it would be a totally different answer if you're like, yeah, I fucking hate my job, Blaze. I can't wait to like leave this job and like start doing more content. So the draw is there and I can relate to you, Halcy. Like I love my job too. And so like, I'm super grateful that both of us have like the opportunity to do work that we love and also have this like passion and hobby that we can also absorb ourselves in as well. I know they kind of fight with each other sometimes, but no, we're in a good spot then. Absolutely.
Yeah, you do commissions, right, for art. So you have a little bit less regular schedule?
Yeah, so my like work schedule is actually like really busy from like April until like November. And so right now it's very much like downtime. And so I ended up starting doing content because I had all this free time on my hands. I was playing a shit ton of PoE and I was like, I might as well just like make a YouTube video. I haven't felt like inspired to ever do that about a game before until like Path of Exile came around. And it actually pulled me out of a pretty dark place because here in Canada, it gets really cold and really snowy and I can't go outside very much. So it's kind of like helping me like subsidize and keep my brain busy during like the off season as well.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean because I'm also in a very northern state in the US where there is like an inch of ice on the ground. And so, yes, I can relate to that, especially with like the seasons changing and then it's dark all the time. And then it's dark like at 6 p.m. and it just... like you do need some way to take you out of like feeling tired and sad about just the fact that it's gray outside.
100%. I'm such a warm weather person. Again, bad Canadian by default. I don't love snow at all. So I would be so happy living somewhere where it was like a nice, like, sweater weather at best, shorts and t-shirt more often than not. That would be like my ideal thing. I got to figure that out someday. Somewhere that has good internet, preferably as well.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you could figure that out. I lived in Florida for a year and it was really nice. And then hurricane season came and I was like, wait, what do I do? It was like panic mode.
Oh, shit. Really? Okay. Yeah. My zone would be like free of natural disasters as well. That's got to be a big one for sure. We don't deal with that up here in Canada, thankfully. So yeah, I want to move onwards to more gaming content and gaming focused conversations, starting with just like aRPGs in general. So when did you start playing aRPGs? What was your like first stab at it, your first foray?
I don't know. I guess like my first aRPG that like the community would really know about is Path of Exile because I didn't play Diablo. I've played aRPGs and that I played like I played Moonlighter 2 recently. I played like Hades, like some like roguelite type things, but not really the traditional sense of aRPG. I know a lot of people who are into this game like have a history of playing Diablo, and I'm not there. I'm actually like new to this, and so it's kind of funny when they'll reveal something that everyone's like, oh, I'm so nostalgic about this because I remember they had this in Diablo 2. I'm like, new to me. It's very exciting.
I'm going to say this like I would say to anybody who's never played Diablo 2. You got to play it. You got to do it.
I know.
You got to.
I have a plan, but they're putting out a new league every 2 months. What do you want me to do?
You got to find time. It's going to be, I find myself often like in this sort of debacle as well, if that's the right word, where now I'm like scheduling my other games that I want to play and basically other things I want to do with my life, just like around the 4 month cycle of like Path of Exile 2 now. So I know it's hard to carve out time, but I think you'd really enjoy it because you're such an enjoyer of Path of Exile. And like, obviously, I think it's like common knowledge that like, GGG founders like Chris Wilson, Jonathan Rogers and whatnot, like that was the game that they were trying to like make the sequel for. Like they were like, yo, D2, we need to make the next D2 basically. And so I think it'd be cool for you to head back in there and be like, oh shit, this is what they were trying to do. I see what's going on here.
Oh yeah, no, I gotta do it. It's like one of my planned games. I have it on a Trello board. It's just about the time.
Absolutely. So you said PoE 1 was basically your first aRPG. Do you have like a specific like story about how you got into it? I know you mentioned it might have been like your friends. Do you want to like elaborate on like how that all went down?
Yeah. Most people, like you could say that I got handheld through the first like learning Path of Exile. I didn't get handheld. I got like full on carried through my first experience with Path of Exile because like when you find someone who's like willing to learn so much about the game that you enjoy, like it's all hands on deck. My friends were like, okay, so this is how sockets work. This is the passive tree. This is the build you got to do. Like my first league, they gave me like a 10 divine chest piece because they were like, here's your chevrons you need to get chaos inoculation. Like I was like, oh, okay. Like I don't even know how the atlas works, but here we are. And so like basically I was kind of like set up for success in that like any question I had like, I made the Name That Unique game, and it came about because my friends are experts at it. And so these are the people who like walked me through learning the game. So it very much was like, I didn't ever have a point where I was like, oh, I can't play this game, it's too hard. Because like I would feel that for 5 seconds and then they'd be like, great, show me your path of building right now, we'll walk through it.
Okay, those friends, keepers, never let them go ever, okay? Because I feel like they almost like solved, and they're probably very in touch with the game and obviously understand the fact that like it is a very intimidating thing to jump into, especially like as a new player. So I had that experience where I was like, my first experience was I'm going to play this game blind and not even use a build guide and see how far I could do, like the exact opposite. But yeah, I feel like they helped you sort of like work through that initial like growing pains stage of the game where there was just like enough things to basically make you not want to play. And so, yeah, no, that's really excellent to hear that like they kind of helped you through that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very fun. It was kind of a whirlwind, but it honestly is like the only reason why I'm even playing now. And they also have been like super supportive of me making content. Like they watch all my streams and stuff. So it definitely is like translated into like a bonding experience, which is super cool.
Nice. Do you want to like shout any of them out right now? Maybe they might be listening tonight and, put them on the spot a bit.
Well, I would love to have them on at some point, but Klep is one of them. There's a person in my chat, Klepbringer, he's antagonizing me and he seems like he's the enemy, but honestly, like he's so nice and he's just joking around.
Nice. Shout out to the homie. So during your time basically playing, also I forgot to ask you, so what was like your first league that you like hopped into for Path of Exile?
It was Sentinel. I think I've talked about this before. I talked about my UX video, and a lot of people were saying that the Sentinel UI wasn't confusing. And it's not that it was confusing. It's confusing because it was my first league. And so everything is confusing at that point. And supposedly Sentinel was a really good league, but it is one of those leagues that I just didn't know enough to really get the most out of it. And I think people who've been playing Path of Exile for a while have this, where once you get better at the game, you look back at a former league, you're like, man, I really could have made so much money if I knew what I knew now back then.
The roguelite knowledge gap, you got to close it. So since Sentinel League, has there been any like standout league for you or mechanic that you've enjoyed the most in your time spent in the game so far? Besides Delve.
You knew I was thinking about it. Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say it. I like King's March a lot. I don't necessarily wish that King's March went core, just because I think that it feels like a mechanic you have to do now in Path of Exile 1, which I don't really like, but I'm super into like city builders and town management games in general. And so that was kind of one of the leagues where I was like, man, this is like both of my favorite games meeting each other together. So I had a lot of fun with that. Did you have a league that was like that for you, where it felt like the mechanics really aligned with what other games you like to play?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that within my own experiences, I have very little experience with leagues personally. So I think like I did, Keepers of the Flame, that was cool. I don't think that like aligned with me at all in any other game format. So I'm still waiting. But I will message you when that particular league comes out and be like, this is the one that's like, that reminds me of another game or something. Because yeah, I think that with regards to Path of Exile 2, like there hasn't really been that much that's come out yet. So given time, I'm sure they will come up with some sort of inspiration. But yeah, I love city builder games as well. I love sim games, management games, and all that kind of stuff. And so I can definitely relate to like the enjoyment that I had in my very short time hanging out in Kingsmarch, especially now that it's in PoE 2 as well. You can kind of, that's a cool like cohesive thing they got going on there.
Yeah, I know. I loved seeing it like reimagined. Act 4 was, when they released that, I was like, this is just like aesthetically like so beautiful. I'm obsessed with them.
I love it too. Like I think overall, like my favorite league so far was 0.3, although it might be a hot take, but I think that like 0.4 might be taking the cake right now. And I think that's just because of a few changes. I think the one major change for me, and I'm somebody who really spends a lot of time in the end game, clearly trying to be level 100 in hardcore like an absolute psychopath. So yeah, just like the tablet change. It's such a small change. It gave me a reason to kill Arbiter. Usually I stay the heck away from that man because he has scary mechanics that will one-shot me. But it was cool to like force me to go in there, learn the fight, kill him and without dying, and then like reap the rewards of like the double juiced XP tablets. And so yeah, like I feel like the end game for me is feeling really good. Yeah, 0.4 actually might be my favorite league so far. It's crazy.
Wow. I don't agree with you, but I respect your decision.
Yeah.
You know what though? You did inspire me, like talking about hardcore SSF. I was like, man, I kind of want to try that for my next Path of Exile 2 league, because I think there's like so much to get out of it, especially because for Path of Exile 1, like I feel like I have some kind of like mastery and knowledge over the economy. And so for me, like being in trade is the fun of Path of Exile 1, but for Path of Exile 2, like I don't know how to make money, so what do I care? So it sounds like a really fun opportunity to like learn a lot about the game.
It's the best. I'm obsessed with SSF, and hardcore I think is just like extra challenge, but I think that if you haven't tried it, Halcy, I would highly recommend it. It's exactly like what you said. It just forces you to interact with every single system, and you kind of learn this like beautiful kind of ecosystem of content that all contributes to like the goals that you have. Like, and we're so early on in this ecosystem still, but I find it still very meaningful, like being able to be like, oh, I need like a specific omen to finish crafting an item. I need to go farm ritual, or, I need to go do abyss because I need to get like omen of light because I missed my desecration. Like all of these things kind of cohesively work together really well. And because you love playing the game, it actually allows you to play the game even more, which is a huge W.
Yeah, that's true. I looked at the Reddit today, and like the Reddit is almost entirely filled with people being like, help me finish my craft. And I'm like, great, now I can crash course on how these people are all crafting.
Yes, exactly. It literally is like a self-made crafting tutorial, along with like a lot of other like learning experiences. So you mentioned like you have this mastery in trade. So would this be like the first time you've ever played SSF in like both games, or have you tried it before?
Yeah, I haven't done it. For me, like I've always just done like softcore trade. So I could never do hardcore. I mean, I could, but I would be migrated to softcore within the first hour. But SSF, like I'd be willing to try it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Okay. Yes, you have to do it. It's so good. And I always say this, but SSF is the like gateway drug to hardcore SSF. So I feel like you'll start considering it more after you play, which is, go down that road. I think it's a good time. So do you have like a favorite like class fantasy over the time you've spent playing? Like I know you mentioned like you kind of like melee. Like is there more you can elaborate on in terms of that?
Yeah, I usually end up with like two builds that I like at the end of a league. Usually it's a minion build and it's a melee-esque build. And usually I'll start out thinking I'm going to do like some cool sorceress build, and then I just decide that I actually like melee better, and I usually do some kind of marauder warrior situation. So like it's one of those things where I always think I'm going to like the ranged elemental stuff, and I always tend to do like big physical damage with a two-handed weapon. That's typically my go-to.
Nice. Yeah. In Keepers, I did Earth Shatter Berserker, and it was my first time trying like hardcore SSF, and I was like, yo, this skill feels good. And it's kind of like what you said, it's like that rain or melee-esque where like I'm still like shooting out shit from my character. I'm not like super duper close in proximity of enemies. Do you have like a build that you like popped off with one league and maybe like got like your farthest like or best achievements in PoE 1?
The build that I probably had the most success with was I did Molten Strike of Zenith last league, and that is like the quintessential Delve build, and that's probably why I did so well with it, is because I made the build that works for the mechanic that I like to play. But that one is just like a two-handed sword. Your attack speed is like 5,000 million %, and I was able to get like a Mage Blood that league and make a lot of money and progress, and yeah, that was a good build.
That's sick. I look forward to when PoE 2 gets to a point where we have like specific builds for specific purposes. I don't know if you agree or disagree with this, but right now it kind of feels like right now there's just like builds that do it all. And so it's going to be interesting to see like how they develop over time and like kind of get tailored to specific content. I guess we're going to have that content put in the game first, but when Delve gets put into PoE 2, that's going to be a good day for you as well.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I think in Path of Exile 2, like there is a little bit of that just because like Abyss is really hard to do when you're close up to the enemies, but Ritual's easier to do in that situation. So there's that to like a minor degree, but not to the way it is in Path of Exile 1 for sure.
Yeah, I think the way you described it kind of reinforces what we talked about earlier, where it was like range just feels better overall right now. Like, yeah, I think that that's kind of the sad part about it was like, you know, melee is good, but some of those Abyss monsters have like crazy G-Gen auras and like are invincible for certain frames for some reason. And so like, it just feels better to not be close to them when they're like spinning on top of you and exploding on you and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the amount of like ground effects that are happening is also very scary. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I also just wanted to compliment you on the name That Unique Game. I know you brought it up and wanted to highlight that you are the creator of it. I played it for the first time on league start of this league because I don't know if you remember this, like the servers went down for like an hour and a half or something. And one of my friends, whatever media, was like, hey man, you should try this. Like Halcy made this. And so we played that for like an hour and it was like, oh my God, like I don't know any of the uniques in this game. And so I wanted to get your perspective on like unique items in general. Like, what do you think about like the state of uniques right now in Path of Exile 2, maybe in contrast to like Path of Exile 1?
Ooh, I don't actually know that many uniques either. I'm terrible at that game. I made it like thinking, you know, this would be so fun to watch other people play because I know someone said in my comments like join the 3 Shriek gang, and I'm in the 3 Shriek gang. So I do not have a lot of knowledge over the uniques in general. I think like I typically just gravitate towards whatever cool builds people are doing with uniques in general. Like in Path of Exile 1, the Keepers had the Foulborn uniques, and that was super cool because it allowed enabling builds that didn't really exist before. But I don't have a ton of experience using uniques in Path of Exile 2 either. I probably am much worse at the Name That Unique 2 than Name That Unique 1.
That's totally fair.
One for each game.
Absolutely. I find sort of the realization that I came to, and I think this is definitely like more of a hardcore or SSF problem, was like, I don't use a lot of uniques in my builds. Like there may be one that is like build enabling, especially when like the alternative being like a rare item often provides a lot more defensive capabilities as well as like good rolls, like, you know, an amulet with +3 projectiles. It's kind of hard to get rid of that. And so it makes me realize that like there's a lot of these cool uniques in the game that are like amazing for like the campaign, but when it comes to the end game, especially as an SSF player or hardcore player, like there's not that many that are like build defining for me. There's maybe like a dozen. So I would love to see like, yeah maybe, because when I played PoE 1, I was like, oh my God, like there's like, obviously with however many years it's been developed, it's like there's a massive library of unique items. And it just feels like there's so many more pieces to that puzzle. And yeah, I'm excited for the game to get there in PoE 2 as well.
Yeah, I think Path of Exile 2 is like 400 uniques and Path of Exile 1 is like 1200. So there's definitely a huge disparity there. But I also haven't played around too much with them.
Do you have one that's kind of like stood out to you thus far that's been like your favorite, or like one that you've kind of like built your character around in PoE 2?
No. Does Headhunter count? No.
Yes, it does. That's funny. Yeah, and like in 0.1, there was this like combo that people were doing with Pillar of the Cage God, which is like a unique like quarterstaff that you can get at like level 0 basically. But if you combined that with what were those gloves called? Hands of Wisdom in Action that you get from Zesht, and you did like an attribute stacker, you could do like the craziest shit where like I did it on a Gemling Legionnaire, and yeah, you could like chain heralds. I don't know if you remember like the herald chaining from 0.1 where the herald of ice and lightning would like bounce off each other and just like constantly chain and blow up tire screens and stuff. So 0.1, take me back to Hands of Wisdom in Action and attribute stacking. It was a good time.
There were some insane builds in the early PoE. It's so funny because so many of us had such a difficult time when Path of Exile 2 first came out. And then they would be like, hey, but check out this build. And someone would just come out with the most insane like thorns damage. And you're like, where was this when I was playing?
That's so true. And yeah, I'm excited because as they've mentioned in like various interviews about unique items, like some people on the GGG team just make these items not knowing exactly what their intended purpose or use case is. And then I think Jonathan or Mark would say like, there were builds that would be discovered based on like an item that someone made in 0.1, like in, you know, update 1.5 or something, that I finally became like a meta item for some reason. So it's kind of cool that they just like are like, yo, what if we just do this very niche case unique, and then maybe down the road it might be just like the most crazy item. We don't know. It's just it's hard to know.
Oh, yeah. I feel like that has got to happen all the time. And I think that's kind of what they were hoping for would happen with Path of Exile 1 and the Foulborn uniques as well. It's just like, all right, we're going to like mess with some of these mods and we'll see who breaks it first. Yes.
And it like that kind of got translated into PoE 2 with like the Val corrupted like unique items and the temple as well. Like one item that I'm going to be using for my next character is Soul Tether, which has like the ability to not leech life, but instead leech energy shield. And so like, let's say you have like life leech on a ring, it turns into energy shield. Very, very powerful. But the downside was that like you would lose 5% ES per second, which was obviously terrible, but you can get rid of that. And now it's like, you can just leech ES on a belt, which is amazing.
That sounds so expensive.
It's actually not. It's a long belt. So it's like a base you find in like Act 2, and it's very, very chanceable. I think the most expensive thing about it would be like getting one that like removed the 5% like ES loss. But it's honestly like, if I can get it in SSF, it's got to be like relatively obtainable.
I know. I was just thinking that. I was like, wait, you don't care if it's expensive.
Yeah. I'm excited to try it out once I get the character going. So yeah, speaking more about the end game, you had another video talking about sort of like your suggestions or feedback about like kind of the end game experience. I just wanted to ask you, generally speaking, like how have you been enjoying it? I know you mentioned that like this is kind of an area of the game that you kind of have like not that much experience in. What's been your take about the end game so far?
I'm just kind of like bored. I think that's how a lot of people feel. It's just a lot of aimlessness in the end game. Once I beat Arbiter, I was like, oh, what now? Like, I guess I just like try to get money to make my build better and then just have a better build. It's a lot of, the lack of goals is very real. And I think I didn't really feel that for a while, just because I would get to endgame and be like, cool, I've played the fun part of the game and now it's done. But like this league, trying to like actually experience endgame, I'm seeing so much of that, like not really having anything to build towards.
I get that. I think it's interesting because I think that right now players have found the most difficult content to be the temple because you can just scale it to a harder degree than you ever could with like T16 maps and stuff like that. So do you like plan on maybe giving it a second chance and like going in there? Because it kind of feels like that is like our version of Delve right now, where it's like you can just like keep building it out. And I do think that you may find that that might be the way to go about like pushing the end game further.
All right, twist my arm. I'll play more Path of Exile 2. Sure.
We got it. We got it. We got our point across. So in that video, you sort of talked about some like changes that you wanted to see happen in the end game. Do you want to like kind of, for the people who haven't seen that video, maybe talk about like what were your biggest sort of suggestions that you wanted to see maybe in 0.5 or beyond?
Yeah. Are you talking about like UX stuff, or are you talking about like fundamental mechanic changes?
I'm talking about all of it. All of it.
Because I have so many like UX things that I have kind of collected in my mind over time. Like I'll never stop talking about going from an item to the trade market. Like being able to put the stats from an item you have in your inventory into the trade market is just like, that's a quality of life that they should have by now. They can do it. If we can copy and paste an item, they can put it in the game, you know. But as far as like endgame goes, for the Atlas, I think I like the idea of the Atlas. I like it better than the PoE 1 Atlas. I like that the PoE 1 Atlas has a sense of finality, but I like that the PoE 2 Atlas means that you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's just that they need some sense of better goals in PoE 2, and I don't know if that's possible in the Atlas. If it is possible with the current setup of the Atlas, it makes me think that they would have been able to include that in 0.4 and they wouldn't have had to push it to 0.5. But I think maybe guaranteed rewards is one way to make it feel more exciting. Like with the Citadels, like people do Citadel farming and you get the fragments, and that's money making and that's satisfying. But otherwise, they just need a little bit of a better way to make it feel like it's worth searching around for things.
I 100% agree. And I became such a big fanboy of the PoE 1 progression system after like finally giving it like a full-on playthrough in Keepers of the Flame. Do you think that like having map completion or boss completion as like a way to obtain like Atlas point progression be like the way to go to encourage that? Or do you think that they should find like their own unique, maybe potential way to redo it?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the sense of accomplishment that you get out of the PoE 1 system so much. Like knowing that you're like watching the number go up. And that's actually what I like about Delve, and why I think whenever people say like, oh, the PoE 2 Atlas is so much like Delve, I disagree, because a lot of it is that in PoE 1, they're like, look at the number go up. And in Delve, when you do harder encounters, you're like deeper. So the depth is higher. So you're still watching the number go up as you're like going deeper into the mine. And I think that having that concrete metric helps a lot of people, and they just don't have that in Path of Exile 2 right now, and it would be great if they could find a way to implement that.
I agree. Excuse me. I'm not sold on the corrupted Nexus like system. I think that like it does have sort of what you're talking about, but to a much smaller degree. Like instead of doing however many, forgive me for not knowing the exact number, but in the 100 and whatever 25 range or something like that, in terms of like passive or Atlas passive points in PoE 1, we get like 40. So it just feels like right now, especially because we have more than 40 different like map layouts in this current iteration of the end game. I would love to see somehow a way for us to have more points. I don't know if that's going to be through Atlas progression or in terms of map progression or something, but I'm excited to see what they cook up for in 0.5, because I remember Mark saying on like the 0.4 like presentation that like, I don't know want to say verbatim, but he was like, yo, the Atlas tree is like garbage in PoE 2 or something like that. And so they're very aware that it's not it right now. And so I just can't wait to see what they have in store for 0.5.
Yeah, someone asked me, and I don't think I ever responded to them, what I would want to see if they deleted the Atlas and put something else in the game, and I honestly have no clue. Like, this is one of those things where I just don't know what the right answer is, and I'm just like, thank God I'm not GGG and have to figure these things out. Like, I'm sure whatever they're doing is somewhat good.
Yeah, I know. I feel like for me, I'm an endless, like, infinite Atlas believer. Like, I like the system. I think that, like, it is nice to have a different approach to the end game in Path of Exile than in Path of Exile 2 than Path of Exile 1. People hold the end game in PoE 1 to such a beloved degree because of the agency that it gives over players. Like, you can, if you want to run, I think the map was called Sand Dunes or Dunes or something like that. You can just be like a Dunes guy. You can just be in the sand like Arrakis, like all day, you know? And so in order for PoE 2 to achieve the same, like, sort of allure or belovedness, I think that we are really just missing a lot of that, like, agency right now. And I feel like it's so close, like, to getting there. It's just like we're not quite there yet.
I know I don't know what the right answer is, but it does feel like it's just like missing a little bit. I think that's why everyone is so frustrated, is because it's like it's almost there. That's why everyone was frustrated with the temple. It's like it's almost there. It's just missing a little something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so when I was talking to Sir Gog about Temple a few days ago, and he was saying that he doesn't think that it should go core, which I thought was a pretty interesting take, because I was under the impression that every single, like, thing that comes out in early access is going to be part of, like, the core gameplay loop. And he was thinking that, like, because the temple is now associated with, like, this sort of, like, breaking of the economy, or it sort of has like a bad stigma right now, that he thinks that people are going to stay away from it just because of this, like, I guess, thing that happened in, like, 0.4. What do you think about that? Do you think that, like, if they fix it and make it better, that it could make people think otherwise?
I think that's a very PoE 1 thought around it, just because that's how it works in the first game. As if a community hates a mechanic, typically they're like, okay, it's fine. That was, a 1 league thing. We'll throw it away. But if the community is obsessed with one, then they're like, okay, well, that one will go core. We'll keep it in. That's, what happened with Settlers, right? Is the King's March is in the game because that was an awesome league. Everyone loved it. And I also was under the assumption that every league they come up with right now for Path of Exile 2 is just going to become core. I don't know how they would make this balanced in core, though, because, like, if you think about having to set up the temple, right now we have a beacon in every map. I guess in end game maps you get more than one, like, charge of your beacon, but I don't know how they would implement that in a way that doesn't feel like the slowest game of all time,
That's so true, actually. Thinking about it now, like, if it went core, or when it does, I do assume that it would actually be core. You don't see it on every map, so you would have to basically target farm it with tablets. So you're going to be seeing it on every map if you want to, with tablet usage. And so I don't think it would actually change that much. Like, it's like with Abyss. Like, we had Abyss in every map, and now that it's not part Abyss League, I still have Abyss in every map if I want to. And so I think what I think they need to do is just, like, raise the initial, like, floor of the temple. I think the floor just needs to be raised a little bit, and the top end needs to be brought down a little bit, and then it can fit perfectly within this ecosystem that we have. Like, I love going in there for, like, the specific stuff. Like, they have, I don't know if you've, like, modified your body on your character, but it's just cool to have, like, those extra, like, body part, like, buffs for your character. And, like, that was something that I was just stoked to, like, go in the temple and, like, see how to get, and, like, what roles I could get and stuff like that. And so, yeah, like, that's kind of how I think they need to look at it.
Yeah, I got it. I got new body parts and then immediately died, as is tradition for me.
Oh,
but
no.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that like, you would actually have it in every map because you just tablet it in. And I think typically that is how it works, is they just bring up the bottom and, like, bring down the top whenever they're making something go core. And I do know there's a lot of different mods that would be fun to play with for, like, if they added an atlas for the temple. I think it would actually help balance it out quite a bit if you were able to add, like, I don't know what kind of global modifiers they would have, but I'm sure that there are some really fun things they could do with a temple atlas too. So,
oh my god,
maybe that's the solution.
100%. They could do like increased crystal generation just from maps in general. They could do like you could spec into having like 8 cards instead of like 6, which would be like massive. So you could like build it out quicker. Like there's so many potential cool things they could do to like enhance the temple experience for sure. Oh, okay. I got a good question. So what are your hottest takes about PoE 2? What are some things that you say that maybe might get you in trouble with chat or stuff that you've been holding in that you want to like get off your chest?
One that I have said that I've gotten a lot of arguments for is that I like PoE 2 better than PoE 1. And after trying to play so much of the endgame of Path of Exile 2, I don't know if I agree with that so much anymore because I'm kind of sick of it right now. But in general, like because I'm like new enough to Path of Exile 1 that I remember my first experience in it, and I remember my first experience in Path of Exile 2 and how much better that initial experience is in the second game versus the first game. I was definitely inclined for a long time to say that I like the second game more than the first. It just feels like more accessible, fleshed out, polished in some ways. But now that I've played enough of the end game, I'm like, okay, the Path of Exile 1 end game is hard to beat.
Absolutely. No, that's actually like a perfect segue into another question that I was going to ask you about, just like generally which game you prefer more. Walk me through sort of that thought process. So like initially what I'm gathering is that like based on just like the way the game feels to play, maybe contributing a bunch of different factors, like that actually kind of swayed you towards like PoE 2 versus PoE 1 for a little bit?
Yeah, I think that just the campaign in Path of Exile 2 is like, it actually is iconic. Like when you fight Genor for the first time, it is actually mind-blowing. It's so cool. And there isn't really an experience like that in Path of Exile 1 that really keeps you going. But I also did have a bunch of people being like, just wait until you get to endgame. The game is completely different once you get to maps. And I got to maps and I was like, this is actually the same game. It's just in a different portal, basically. But the campaign is like so good in Path of Exile 2.
It's incredible. I think especially now that we don't have to do the campaign twice, like with like the cruel difficulty removed, like it's so good. I think that like for people who play the game and never even play the end game, the campaign is like probably the best like experience I would say you could have in a campaign in aRPG, like hands down. Like you said it perfectly. Like the Genor fight for me was one of the many moments in the campaign where I was just like, holy shit, this game is like on another level. Do you have any other moments like that you experienced like in the campaign where you were just like, yo, this is like, I've never seen this shit before?
I think when like the act bosses are so good. It was like when I saw Jamin Ra like cut open the arena, I was like, this game, like the aesthetic, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like this is cinema. That's how I felt. Like cinema.
Yeah. Oh, I feel you on that one. I think for me, like I think Act 2 had a lot of those moments. Like ending up on the Dreadnought was made even more crazy by the fact that we were following it a lot in the Act 2. Like, you know, when you're at the Halani gates and you're like watching as like the caravan goes through the gates and you're opening it up. And then when you actually like roll up with a Sala and like go on the Dreadnought Vanguard, you're like, oh my God, like this is so freaking cool. And yeah, like the game is just like jam packed full of those things. And I think that in my personal opinion, we lose sight of this sometimes because we're so, and I'm talking like generally speaking, maybe as a, you know, content creators or players of the game or whoever, like we get really hyper fixated on like the things that we want fixed of the game. And sometimes we maybe lose sight of like how amazing it is. Like they've done such a good job. I could glaze this game all day. I do. That's why I have this podcast. But yeah, no, it's cool to hear that like right from the campaign, like you were like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think like something kind of interesting is like that like in PoE 1, like all of the cool moments come from you as the player for the most part. Like whenever you like drop something insane, you're like, yeah, I dropped that. Or you craft something, you like hit the metacraft, whatever, you hit the fracturing orb and you're like, oh my God, I'm so good. And like in Path of Exile 2, like a lot of the cool moments come from the game itself. Like they come from the experience within the game. So it is like a different mindset. And I think I lost the rest of my thought there. But yes.
I totally get that. And I think that like as we move into like more content and more things, more systems, like not only the world building and the actual like cinema of the game like will stay there, but also like those moments will start happening as well. The way that I've sort of described it is that like Path of Exile 1 and 2 are kind of like an X, right? Where like Path of Exile 1 has a really shitty campaign and then it gets to a really fucking good endgame. And Path of Exile 2 is kind of the opposite, where it has like a really good campaign and then the endgame kind of becomes subpar. But I do think I'm pretty confident that like the X will kind of get bounced out and like PoE 2 will sort of like raise up to just be like a higher bar overall once, I don't know when the time frame is, but I do think that it'll get there eventually.
Yeah. Was Keepers your first Path of Exile 1 league, or did you played another one, right?
So my first Path of Exile 1 league was Mercenaries, but I went into it as a Path of Exile 2 player. I don't know if you've seen this video that I have made, but it's basically my experience as a Path of Exile 2 player playing Path of Exile 1 for the first time. And I realized when I wanted to jump back into PoE 1, which is purely out of respect for the second game, that I had this like unique perspective. It was the perspective of somebody who started with PoE 2 first. A lot of people who I know within the community come from the first game, like yourself and many others. And so I was like, oh, I need to like document this because this is like for science now, like coming in as a PoE 2 player. And so I played the game fully blind, only relying on my PoE 2 knowledge. I didn't look at a single build guide. I didn't look up any content. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Didn't you play
Sunder though?
I did.
You just like happened to pick the best skill.
So I picked Sunder because I played Sunder in PoE 2. As I mentioned, Warrior as my first character, and my build in 0.1 was using Resonating Shield to break armor and then using Sunder to like insta crit on like all the monsters that had broken armor. And so when I saw Sunder in PoE 1, I was like, oh shit, it's Sunder. I used that before. Like this is like my first character all over again. And then I put Sunder on and I was like, holy shit, the skill is so much better in PoE 1. So that's why I chose Sunder. I didn't realize that it was like a meta leveling skill. I just used it because I used it in PoE 2 and I wanted to try it out.
Yeah, one thing I've always complained about in Path of Exile 1 is that you have to like respec your entire character for most builds. And so typically I'll try to play a build that I can start with the skill that I want to use at endgame. But what that means is that it's insanely painful because I'm like starting out with like rolling magma or something and it's just like death and mud flats 50 times. So I think now I'm definitely on the Sunder train.
I got so lucky. Like I probably would have had a terrible experience if I picked anything else. But you know, like when you get those, I think it's like your level 6 gems or levels. You get level 6 and you get like Sunder, or I forget what the other ones are. But I just saw that one and was like, oh, I recognize that. I used that before in PoE 2, and then I slapped it on. I was like, this feels good. I'm going all the way with this one. I just used it the whole time.
That's so awesome.
It's wild.
Oh my god.
I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, so I was using maces when, like, I guess in PoE 1, maces are just like inherently worse until like you get to like super specific niche cases. But like generally, from what I gather.
Yeah, you gotta go for the Jade Chopper.
Yes, exactly. So I was using like my two-handed maces the whole way through, like specking into all the mace tree and everything. But yeah, it was cool. It was fun. But yeah, Keepers was like the league that I actually was like, I did my homework for. It's basically the PoE 1 is the first game where I've ever like studied for it. Like before playing Keepers, I like watched a ton of guides, like basically undid everything that I did with the first time, which was like playing it as unblind as possible.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm so glad that I don't have to watch that many guides. I just have like a book of human knowledge to pull from. I'm realizing now what a privilege that is.
So like if you were to talk to somebody and they were about to get into PoE 1 for the first time, like what would you tell them as like sort of like guidance, as like your friends did, to help them like get into the game a bit easier, or like, I don't know, maybe make their like kind of like entry point a little bit nicer for them?
I think there's a lot of things you can do to make life easier, but they're all like small technical things, like which skills to start out with, or to like get movement speed on your boots, like kind of the quality of life things that we all know about. But I think when someone is playing for the first time, you really just gotta let them suffer a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you do have to just let them like take 2 weeks to get through the campaign and be like, you know what, this is your first chance, and then next league you can get through it in like less than that, hopefully.
True. Okay. Let them suffer a little bit. I feel like there's a certain point of suffering that's good because I feel like it like reinforces that like good feeling of like learning. Like you come from nothing and you like start, you know, with the pains of like playing. Like I remember in my video, I just didn't realize I could respec with gold. I know that's like sort of a recent addition to PoE1, but like it made me change my whole perspective on like the commitment aspect of like the passive tree. Like, and then after I made the video, I saw all the comments coming in. They're like, "You're an idiot. You can respec with gold the same place you get." I was like, "Oh my god, I just missed that somehow." And so that was definitely growing pains for me.
I think it's a different NPC, and that was also one of my biggest gripes when Path of Exile 2 first came out. Is I was like, I wanted to try like every build under the sun because the game was new, and the respec cost was like astronomical, and I was like, I'm struggling so bad, and then I don't have the gold I need to fix it. Like, that was so painful.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember that. I'm so happy that it's like way better now because I do remember feeling like, wow, I have to like play all day and pick up like white items off the ground to like, in this economy to afford like 5 passive point resets. Like, this is crazy. So yeah, we've come a long way in like a year's time for sure.
Yeah. And now in Path of Exile 1, it feels like you never have enough gold. So there's gold hungry in every game.
I know. I feel like we've gone the full opposite direction now. Where like I'm in the end game and I have like 15 million gold, which is amazing if I want to like go to the casino, you know, hit up Ange and be like, "Yo, what you got for me, Ange?" And then spend all of it there. But yeah, and then on Path of Exile 1, I always felt like gold was like, whoa, like I really need to like, and I probably have no idea how to make gold. I'm probably doing it all wrong, but it felt very valuable for sure.
Yeah. Did you get your Gambler Strongbox yet? You get one?
Oh, I've gotten many Gambler Strong boxes and a lot of 20 stacks of transmutes and hogs from that final 4 million pull. You know what's bad when you spend 4 mil?
One, and I got nothing.
It's so bad when you spend 4 mil and your loot filter filters out whatever came out of the box. You're like, oh, okay, that's rough.
Yeah, if it makes you feel better. I got one and I got a Storm Rune, and I was like, what's the point?
You know,
this is the only gold sink we have.
99% of gamblers stop before they hit it big. It's just got to be the next one, right?
Dude, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I would have at least 2 nickels.
I talked about this with one of my friends where we kind of talk about aRPGs as just like giant casinos, and I think there's something to be said about that. Like it really the whole gameplay loop really feeds into sort of this like slot machine ideology. Again, I don't want to sound like an old man, but it kind of all comes back to the way that Diablo 2 designed everything. But it's kind of crazy to see that like from the action of like killing a monster, it is just like cranking the slot machine, and you never know if an Astromentus is going to pop out. You never know if you're going to hit the jackpot, right?
Yeah, no, the only next step for you now is in Path of Exile 1, you have to gamble away your div cards with Harvest Juice.
Okay, I need to do that. I'm going to play 3.28. I want to. What do you think is in store for us in 3.28? Are you like anticipating this? Are you excited? Are you slightly nervous based on maybe the previous league being sort of a miss for a lot of people?
No, I come to expect this cadence from GGG where it's good league, bad league, good league, bad league. Because like kind of what happens in my mind, this is my interpretation of it, is they give us a league where we're all like kind of overpowered and they're like, that was too strong. Let's give you guys something a little toned down. And then they give us something toned down and we're like, we don't have any loot, this sucks. And they're like, okay, we'll just let you be OP for another league. And so the pendulum kind of swings. And so I think like keepers, I don't know, it's like crafting was overpowered, but also the mechanic was shallow. My expectation is that we get a league that is not a remake of what we already have. I'm guessing that we're going to get something net new.
Oh, that would be very cool. Has there ever been like a league? I know that we've sort of, even for PoE2, sort of seen the pendulum swinging both directions as well. Has there been a league that you've played where you're like, oh, the pendulum's like perfectly like 6 o'clock or like 12 o'clock, like right? They found the balance of like reward and like sort of struggle, in your opinion?
Oh, I guess like Mercenaries did feel like that in a way because they added a little bit to the map, but not so much that you were able to exploit it. There was like some specific farming for mercenaries. And then early on, there were mercenaries that would literally bypass your armor and just one-shot you. But I think that one was the one with the least amount of like power creep or like lack of rewards, just because the amount of stuff you could get from it was kind of a small pool.
Okay. Yeah, I did not talk to those mercenaries at all. I'm a SSF Andy, and I said, I'm not hiring any of you guys, because that's basically like partying up. Little did I know that like that was like the whole point of the league, was like having one of these mercenaries be like either an aura bot or like do insane shit for your build. So I definitely nerfed myself pretty hard being stubborn as an SSF player.
I mean, honestly, you saved yourself a lot of deaths, but also the experience of having a friend go through the league with you. I got to like delve with a friend. I've never been able to do that before. It was awesome.
That is pretty cool, actually. I like that. So going back to sort of a few more last PoE2 questions, just generally speaking, is there anything right now off the top of your head that you're like, I cannot wait for this to come into the game? It could be class, weapon, content, etc. And again, delve can't be the answer because we already know that that's going to be. I have to cancel that one out. Sorry.
That's fine. Whatever they're doing to the Atlas, like I just can't help but think about like it's just like it feels like a chore to do the end game right now, and I just so desperately want it to be actually like engaging. So I know it's kind of also a little bit of a cop out. Like I do think like two-handed axes would be great because I love those kinds of builds. But the Atlas is just the biggest problem. It really is.
Yeah, it would be crazy if they did an endgame massive update for 0.5 and they also dropped like a weapon. That would be like, holy shit. And it was like a melee weapon, and it was like agile and had movement skills and like felt really good to play. Like that would be such a banger league. Oh my God. Like not to say that just
love like attack speed stacking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just something insane like that.
Yeah. Not to say that the endgame changes wouldn't be a W enough, but like the cherry on top was like, oh, like, you know how like before 0.4 came out, they were like, oh yeah, Disciple of Harashta, that's a thing. Like, here you guys go, have a new ascendancy like 2 days before the league came out. That'd be crazy if they're like, oh yeah, we got axes done, by the way. Go nuts. Like, please.
Yeah. New skills. Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah. And so if you were to basically pick like, I guess we kind of talked about your biggest issues and stuff like that in the game. But maybe we'll skip over that one. Yeah, let's check in with you first. So we're at like an hour and a half. How are you doing and how are you feeling right now?
I'm good.
You good? Good to keep going?
I got however much time you want, and I'm here to yap.
Okay, let the yapping continue. Well, I appreciate you coming on. It's been super fun chatting with you, so thank you. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do have some like kind of generic, more closing question stuff that I'm excited to talk to you about. So let's get into it. The first one being, as somebody who also is a content creator, I love hearing these answers. Like, what are just some of your biggest highlights from your time spent like creating content and like being on YouTube and Twitch and stuff?
Yeah, it hasn't even been that long. Like I made content for about a couple years ago, but like I've only been making content for Path of Exile for a couple months, and then like I released one video and everyone's like, hold the phone, we have a new creator on the line. And it's like, oh yeah, hi everybody, yes, I'm here, this is incredible. And everyone has been like so nice. So I don't really have like that many experiences to pull from for like a highlight. Like honestly, I guess the highlight would be League Start, just because they had like the drops going on. So I got a bunch of subs on Twitch, and like that was so exciting to see. And it was kind of actually the other really cool thing was that I followed the advice that was like turn your viewer count off, because you do really get in your head about the viewer count. And I was at like 5 average viewers for a while. And all of a sudden, like once I started releasing Path of Exile YouTube videos, like I had the viewer count off, and then I would look at it after the stream and be like, I've never rated anyone before, but I just left like 50 people hanging. Like I didn't expect that to be happening. And so now like I get to raid people with like a significant amount of viewers, and it's just like it's pretty magical. I love it.
That's so cool. Oh my God. That's crazy. Like you had this sort of like thing put in place, obviously, for your own like sanity. Where like, I don't want to see who's on there. I don't want to see what the number's at today. Just like, I'm just going to enjoy the stream and pretend that like that doesn't exist. As a content creator as well and streamer, like I can totally relate to that. I think that like we do get in our heads a lot about like just numbers and analytics and data and followers and subscribers and all that stuff. And so like if you can like turn your brain off about that, I think that it does have a pretty positive effect. It is cool though to hear that like as soon as you turn it off, you're like, oh, like this is nice. Like this is a nice surprise to see what's going on here. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. And then I was like, oh man, like I could have like sent those viewers to someone like I didn't even know. Cause like you can kind of tell when you have people in your chat like talking more often. You're like, all right, obviously there's like a couple more people here, but I just kind of had no idea how quickly everything would blow up like that. And then I had set goals for like metrics that I wanted to meet, which I know isn't technically the best thing to do because most of the time you want your goals to be like stuff you can control and stuff you have agency over versus like just like numbers that everyone else has to follow you to meet those numbers. But I wrote those things down. And then the next day, like Gazzy made a video with me in it and he like had me on a stream. And I was like, okay, I guess I gotta just rewrite all these numbers that I made up because the Path of Exile community is incredible and just decided to like highlight me. It was just awesome.
I love that. It's something that I love to hear because I don't think it matters necessarily like how long you've been doing like content creation or streaming and stuff like that. There's always still going to be like these special moments. And it's cool to hear that like despite you maybe not thinking you have been doing it that long, that you still had like some pretty like special interactions, like whether it was like a league start or like a build feature or collab and stuff, or a video feature or collab and stuff. Like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Have you had moments like that? I want to know, what are your special creator moments?
I feel like I get to live my special creator moments. This is going to sound really cheesy, but every time I do this podcast for me has been like, and I talk about this all the time on my stream, but I'm happy to reiterate, like it's been a very special part of my journey as a creator. I started it basically having like 50 subscribers on YouTube. I asked, shout out to the homie Everseen, my mod, my Canadian homie, my HCSSF boy. Like he was the first guy to come on this pod. I was basically like, I didn't know anybody. It was just like me and him. He was like, oh, you've commented on my YouTube videos before. You've been on my streams a couple times. Like, yo, yeah, let's chat about PoE too. And like since then, like not even years gone by. And it's like, you know, we've had a plethora of episodes from lovely people like yourself and others. And so, yeah, like I think that this podcast has just been like a really big highlight for me throughout my like streaming career and like content career. And like, I'm super grateful for it.
Yeah, and it's so awesome to see too because your videos do really well. Like they get a lot of views, and so all you people need to click the subscribe button because I see you get so many more views than you have subscribers. You deserve so many more. Oh,
thank you. I appreciate the little plug. You heard it here from Halcy, guys. If you're listening, hit the like button. It helps out the channel a ton. You've heard it a million times. Another question that I wanted to ask you was something that I've also experienced, but I wanted to know if you've had a specific piece of content that you've made just unexpectedly blow up. Like you were like, you made it and you were like, I don't think this is going to do that great. I'll just like fire it off into ether. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like this is a unexpected outcome.
Yeah, it was definitely the UX video that you mentioned as well. I didn't actually think that was a very good video when I released it. And all of a sudden it was on Reddit and I was like, oh, like if I had known that so many people would have said this, I would have like defined it out more. But it was more so just me in the moment of feeling like frustration over the temple in Path of Exile 2 and just wanting some explanation for it. And I think a lot of people were also looking for an explanation to why they were having a tough time understanding the temple. And so it just kind of hit that magic, like it kind of validated a lot of people's experiences. And I wasn't quite ready for it. I actually I still don't know that that's even a good video, but everyone tells me it is, so that's nice. But I was not expecting that to reach, I think it's my most watched video now. I wasn't really expecting that.
I love that. Yeah, I think that I was thinking about your video as I sort of like did my research on like your content and stuff like that. And I think it was a combination of like, it came at like the perfect timing. And I kind of talk about timing with a lot of content creators and how like it's such an important part about releasing a video. Like if you'd done that video in like 0.5, you're like, oh, the UX for like the temple was not optimal or not ideal. People are like, why are you talking about the temple, Halcy? Like, we're like talking about like 0.5 right now, you know? So topically, I think with regards to like, you know, just like the general opinion about the league and the drama and stuff like that, that was a factor. But I also like just need to reinforce the fact that like it was a good video. Like it was really well done the way that you talked about it. I think that like the UX stuff, I think for whatever reason really resonates with people. Like even in chat reading tonight, it was like, oh, I love like hearing UX discussed in video games and all that stuff in UI. So yeah, it was like a magical combination of like, I think a lot of different factors for sure.
Yeah, it's cool too because it's one thing I love to do. Like the one thing I think I'm really good at is giving feedback, and especially around UI UX stuff. I guess it's just something that I care a lot about. That it is a little bit easy for me to see, and so it's super easy for me to give feedback on. And so it's nice to let people enjoy that because I also think that I'm like pretty good at calling those things out, and I like talking about them.
Yeah, it could almost be like a series of videos now, where like every time something attracts your attention, even in like a good or bad way, you could talk about it. And I'm sure people would be down to hear your thoughts about it as well.
Yeah. Oh, I've got plenty of them. There's so many little things and I'm like, why is it like this? Or there are a lot of things though, too, that one thing I didn't mention is that the Path of Exile 2 UI is like so much better than Path of Exile 1 in general. And I am like super grateful for that. But there are a lot of little things I noticed too in the second game where I'm like, wow, they really improved this, or they've done a really good job here. So there are a lot of really good patterns that they're following in the second game for sure.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think like I think it's come leaps and bounds in terms of like UI from PoE 1 to PoE 2. Absolutely. I think a lot of people like the support gem and gems interface. Like, how do you feel as somebody who plays a lot of like PoE 1 and, you know, the colored sockets and gem links and stuff like that versus like the PoE 2 system? What are your thoughts about both of those things?
I don't mind the system in PoE 1. Like, it's a little bit annoying when you want to switch gear, which I could see that being frustrating for a lot of people who play Path of Exile 2, because in Path of Exile 2, your gear is so build defining, and it's not that way in the first game. In the first game, realistically, you don't really need to be switching gear all that much because not necessarily your power comes from that place. But I don't really mind the system in either one. I think in Path of Exile 2, it's a little bit finicky and annoying with like clicking on like the show recommended gems and then like your equipped gems versus what you don't have equipped, and then it like opens a new window, and then it opens another window for the ones you have equipped, and then another one for your inventory / stat. It's just like a bit too much going on like screen management wise, but I don't really mind the system. It's more so about just like having to deal with, you know, keeping X tabs open or whatever.
True. Yeah. It almost is like a window. There's a lot more windows, I guess, windows in PoE 2 versus like, I guess, sockets in PoE 1. Personally, I'm such a big fan of the PoE 2 way of it. I could talk about Diablo 2 all day, but I think that like one of the things that I struggled with when I first initially played PoE 1 was like, I don't know which thing came first. Should I be focusing on sockets and colors and links, or should I be focusing on stats? Over time, I learned that like, you know, you probably should find like the stats first and then like, you know, craft on the particular sockets and links and stuff like that. But as somebody who like, you know, played aRPGs before, it was just such a different way of going about it. And it felt very tough to like get upgrades. That was obviously... No,
I think that everyone has had that too, because like I can't even think of a single person who's played Path of Exile 1 who hasn't said like, oh, I want to get this item, but it doesn't have the right sockets. Like literally everyone has that experience.
Of course, yeah. And like you, of course, learn over time, like what are the workarounds for that? Like I didn't realize that there were, at the time, that there was a vendor recipe for chromatic orbs. So that like just changes everything. Once you learn that like you can disenchant the 3 link, like different color ones, like that's a game changer. Yeah, so... Yeah,
you got to get that on your loot filter, too. Make 100%. Sure your loot filter is showing the recipes.
When I first played, I didn't use a loot filter, and I wanted to see like what the raw like loot felt like. But by Act 2, I was like, oh my god, like filter blade me right now, like never sync, please save my game for me. And yeah, it started highlighting those, and then I keyed in like, oh, this is what are these? And that helped me out a lot.
Oh yeah, it's the only way I can get jewelers in the game is blue filter.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm excited for you. Maybe potentially start trying SSF some point in time. Maybe not this league, unless you're craving some more PoE2. It kind of sounds like you're a little bit burnt out of the game right now, but definitely within the cards in the future. As sort of some more like few closing questions. This one's a hard one. What do video games mean to you, and how have they impacted your life?
It's such a hard question just because it's like so profound. I think I have a common experience with a lot of people in that video games is my means to socialization. You know, when you go over to someone's house and they have a pet and you're like, oh my God, the dog, let me hang out with the dog. And it feels like this like social transition point where like you can connect with like the non-human in the room, and therefore it makes it easier to connect with the actual human in the room. That's kind of how video games are for me, is like connecting over video games gives me something to focus on that's not just like, you know, the pressure of the social situation. And so it really is like the glue or like the medium between me and other people, which I love.
That's such a good answer. I totally get that. Like, I saw you used to do a lot of like indoor rock climbing for a while. I've kind of like fallen off of that, but at the gym I saw a guy with a PoE2 shirt on, and I was like, yo, like get over here. Like, what build are you playing, brother? Like, how has it been? And it was like 0.1, and he's just like some random, he's like, yo, you play? I was like, yes, like I love this fucking game. And and he had the shirt, so I knew that he was like a supporter pack owner and shit too. So I was like, this guy's a gamer. And it was just like, I normally would never do that like for any other reason. Like if I saw someone wearing any other type of clothing, I'd never be like, you like get over here. We need to like become friends immediately. But when it comes to video games, it's like it changes everything socially. So super cool that way for sure.
Yeah, I definitely am like definitely in the club of people who are like using games as a way to meet other people. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm totally like that. I've been playing games for a long time like yourself, and like I've had friendships that have existed for many, many, many years like online where I've like never met the person in real life, and like it's always just been like we've spent so much time together that if we happen to ever meet up in life, it was like it's not awkward at all. I've also been to like multiple friends' weddings, like from gaming, like especially during COVID. Like I don't know how COVID was for you. I know it was rough for a lot of people. I spent a lot of time like playing Rust. That was like my game, and Counter-Strike. And like I ended up going to like a homie's wedding from like my Rust server, and like a homie's wedding from like my Counter-Strike like boys. Like it was just like yeah, it's a special place to meet people, and it's cool when it like ends up transitioning to like real life friendships as well.
That's so sweet. Honestly, now you're making me remember when I was younger, I actually went to London because I was like meeting up with someone who I played games with. And like that was the first time that I'd ever really been out of the country. So I was even able to like go experience Europe for the first time because of video games.
Oh, that's so sick. Where in London did you end up going? Do you remember?
No, but I did discover crumpets, and that was awesome. Like crumpets, oh, they're so spongy. They're like English muffins, but better. They're so good.
I ended up going to London as well. And for the first time, I haven't really been to Europe very much, but I did London and Amsterdam, and it's a really cool city. It's really expensive compared to like Canada, unfortunately, with like the pound being like a lot more value than the Canadian dollar is, but it's a special place. And I think Europe is another place just in general that I want to check out more. I used to live in like Asia, like Southeast Asia for like 2 years. And so I did a lot of like Asian traveling. Where would you want to go if you like could just like have a trip, like all expenses paid? Like, do you have like a city or a place in mind that you're like, yo, like this is the #1 spot?
I mean, there's a bunch of places, but I would love to go to like South Korea because I love Korean food, and maybe it's just the StarCraft 2 in me coming out that's like wanting, you know, the Korean life. But I just think like it would be a fun place to visit. I know that they have like a bunch of like cultural stuff going on there as well, but I love Korean stew and tofu and all of the food they make. I just want to eat it all the time.
Oh my God. Yeah, Korean food's so good. I was living in like close to like the Koreatown in like the city that I live in. And I don't know why, but they had all these like late night spots where like we'd go to at like 3 a.m. and just get like the best like spicy beef bulgogi bowls with like, or like KBBQ spots that were all open like late night. So it was kind of like the spot for me and the homies to go after we would like hit up a bar or something and then go get Korean food after. And it was so good. Combine that with like StarCraft, it's like, ooh, Korea would hit hard for sure.
Yeah, it's the perfect combination. Yeah, when I was several years ago, I made my own like Korean soy sauce, which was a crazy experience. But the craziest part of it was buying the like, you have to get like a big earthenware jar to make it in. And so I bought that from like the local Korean store, and their faces when they saw I was buying this thing, they were like, what are you using it for? They were so excited. It was really cool.
They're like, we see you. We know what you up to over there with this giant thing. That's amazing. Yeah, another thing before we move off of the Korea thing was, so I'm really big into like this game called Maple Story. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. It's like a Korean MMO. I played it a lot when I was a kid. Had a really big impact on me. Another game that left a lasting impression on me as a gamer. One thing that I still listen to this day all the time is the Maple Story like OST. Like I love the soundtrack so much. And in Korea, they have a orchestra that like plays like the soundtrack, like orchestral version. And yeah, so me and my partner did the Stardew Valley one, the orchestral version of the Stardew Valley game. And oh my God, that like made me like almost cry. It was like so fucking beautiful. And I feel like the Maple Story one would hit even harder. So I gotta go to Korea and see the Maple Story Orchestra someday. It'll be so sick.
Whoa, that's so cool. I saw the Lord of the Rings orchestra movie experience for the first time, and I was like, oh, orchestras are awesome. I'm on board. It just adds so much to the experience.
That sounds excellent. I would love to do that. That or like Harry Potter or something like that would be super cool. Okay, so as a final question, as we wrap up this evening, I just wanted to get your advice or some, helpful tips for new content creators or streamers, maybe something that you could share with them to help them get started or improve their journey in content creation or streaming.
I have so many different things. Like one is like just be consistent. Like you really do have to go through the like gauntlet, the PoE term, if you will, the gauntlet of just being consistent enough for the platform to trust you. Like posting stuff that you're interested in versus stuff that you think you want people to see. Because part of the reason I stopped making content for a little while is because I was kind of tired of making Shadows of Doubt videos, and I just felt tired of it. And then once I came back and started posting the stuff I actually wanted to post, like now I've grown so much because of that. And that was so awesome. And the other thing that I would definitely say is like shorts are also, a lot of people find people through shorts, even though it doesn't feel like it does that much for you. Like it's a huge tool for growth. So just, things like that. Just keep posting, post shorts, post what you like,
Got it. I'm like, do I make a short of you talking about shorts to add to my shorts? I
have a short about shorts. You need to make a short about shorts.
Okay, we're going to make this happen. All right. Halcy, thank you so much for tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting. At this point in time, just got to get you to shout yourself out. Where can we find you? And what are you going to be working on in the future?
Yes, you can find me over at Halcyonish on YouTube and Halcyonish on Twitch. I stream every Tuesday and Friday, and otherwise I release videos. As I said, I try to release videos every week, and I am just can't wait for the next PoE 1 League because I have some great Delve video ideas that I cannot wait to execute on. So catch up with me for that.
Excellent. As always, guys, I will leave a link to Halcy's Twitch, YouTube, all that stuff in the video description. Make sure to go check her out. Oh my God, I'm butchering this exit. Make sure to go check her out. She's awesome. Thank you so much again, Halcy. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate you. If you're watching on Twitch Live, I also appreciate you guys as well. And we will see you in the next one. Peace.
All right, everybody. That wraps it up for this episode of the Passive Tree Podcast. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe for more PoE2 content. I have a bunch more episodes of the podcast lined up with some really great guests, so keep your eyes peeled for that. If you're interested in supporting the podcast and the channel, consider supporting through Patreon. There's a link in the video description. A special shout out to Kevin F. for supporting this channel. I appreciate you. Thank you. And until next time, happy blasting, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.